Hello, I'm Diane Andone,
Hi, I'm Mark Freidenberg.
and we are presenting our joint paper about co-creating with TalkTech, developing attributes for international digital collaborative projects. I'm coming from Timișoara, Romania, and I'm a senior lecturer teaching about multimedia at the Polytechnica University of Timișoara, and I'm also the director of e-learning center.
I am the director of the CIS Sandbox at Bentley University, where I'm also a senior lecturer in computer information systems. Bentley is a business school just outside of Boston in the United States.
And we have been running since 2008, for about 12 years now, a joint project which is called TalkTech Project. And we have a project website, talktechproject.net, where you can go and find more information. As you can see, it's an ocean between us, but for 12 years we've been running a project where students from my university with students from Mark's University, usually between 20 to 30 students, have been jointly doing together an AR and VR artifact. We usually mix 2 Romanian with 2 American students, as we call them, 2 Bentley students with 2 UPT students, doing a project over a period of 8 weeks and using different online and mobile and web tools. In this project, in the last 12 years, more than 1,200 students have been successfully finishing. We need to say that we never had a dropout on our project. This paper presents our idea of a study done in TalkTech 2019 about how connectivist learning and also project-based learning can be influenced by the TalkTech project and how the digitalness of our students is really connected to connectivists. Obviously, we've been tackling several principles of the connectivists, mainly about the diversity of opinion, about how the students learning through connection and through nodes of communication and connecting, and how it's very important to have a critical approach to knowledge, use of technology, and connectivists. So also an important part in our project, because the students quite do a lot of their things independently and they learn independently, research and develop their project independently, is their decision-making ability.
We give the students the opportunity to create a project of their own design, relating augmented or virtual reality to some concept related to business, where they need to research and study that application of VR in their chosen industry, or sometimes related to culture and cultural experiences. And they need to then create some original artifact of virtual reality that they can then share with their international partners. So this project involves both creating original multimedia, which synthesizes their research about the topic that they've chosen, and they use the virtual reality scene that they create as a way to present what they've learned about. They're working as members of international teams, and they are learning how to interact with media across different platforms and devices as they build their digital literacy skills to create their projects. Some of the projects that the students use create virtual reality scenes in any of the topics that you've seen here. In 2019, the idea was to have the students research the applications of virtual reality in one of these areas and then create a virtual reality demo, which they would video and then present to us and share with and critique with their international partners, so they could not only become content creators, but also content reviewers as well.
As you can see, in 2018, our students were needed to create a virtual scene, which was connecting Timișoara with Boston, or Waltham from Massachusetts, from United States. And in this project, for example, the students created a game. Their topic was VR in entertainment. And there were 4 students which created like a sort of game. This is in Timișoara, the parking between 2 buildings, the buildings where they are mainly studying, and they use even a vampire and Santa Claus, because we have done this project in the fall, in the autumn of 2019, and it was just finished just before the end of the first semester, just before Christmas. And then they done a teleportation scene, and they jumped into Boston, where they also had the same game and entertainment topics and activity. Then they've done a project about health. Mark?
In this example, the students created a program showing the applications of virtual reality in healthcare. So in one case, the Romanian students showed what it's like to go to a pharmacy in their country, and then the American students showed in their scene, when you click on it, what the ambulance and what it's like to receive care in an ambulance. The go to scene 2 button is the teleport button that transports the students between both scenes. So the idea here was to have the students deliver a tangible work product in a short amount of time as they built these things, and then apply the different realities and the different technologies to their work. They used a program called CoSpaces, in which they uploaded a 360 image and then added the code to it to animate the stories. This is really an exercise in digital storytelling, as they need to create these artifacts that convey their learning. CoSpaces.edu is the tool that we used. It allows you to create avatars to add to your 360 image, as you saw in the slides that I showed you before, and then using a simple drag and drop language on the right, you can add animations and dialogue to each of the scenes. If you quickly scan this QR code, then you can run this application in your own phone and spin around and see this particular virtual reality scene that they created at a shopping mall. Our students also needed to reflect on their work with their partners. And so Diana's going to play for us a short video of 2 of the students sharing a Zoom call.
Why do you choose the Sephora? Because we choose also
yeah. I thought we were gonna do the same thing, so that's why we're like, oh, they're doing Sephora, so we're gonna go to the Sephora. I didn't know that we were supposed to do something different. I was like, oh, I thought we were doing the same store, but I mean, it isn't.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Because it wrote like similar, so we thought like we do like the same thing, but like different
countries. So,
and also like different
these
like content
conversations
on it. So
allowed the students to really think about what they wanted to do as they planned their projects out together. And this is just an example of a shared conversation that they had.
It's always good to add informal communications, because only formal, it's not good for teamwork. And by having informal communications, you also make friends with the other team.
So what we see here is the fact that the students actually work well together. They learn how to collaborate with each other, and they valued the interactions that they shared with each other.
And you need to remember that this was pre-pandemic time. This was the fall of 2019, and it was the same since 2008. Even initially, if we were only using Skype, or the students were using only Skype and so on, then they moved on and they used more advanced video conferencing tools, or even messaging and video conferencing tools. So in our TalkTech 2019 project evaluation, obviously we wanted to see how the connectiveness of the learning process influenced the students' digital competencies, and how the students' attribute and their cultural awareness was completely, how to say, transformed during the 8 weeks of this project, of the TalkTech project. How we've done this through interviews, through usage data, and through an anonymous online questionnaire, which we performed at the end of our project. And we had about 75% of our students answering in full this online, quite lengthy questionnaire.
What we learned is that the students had different experiences with different technologies. On the left are the students at Bentley, on the right are the students at UPT. And a horizontal line means they basically have the same experience level with those technologies. So, and a more angled line shows that one group of students at one school has a greater technology experience or fluency with, or familiarity with the technologies than the other. So, for example, the American students and the Bentley students, I'm sorry, and the Romanian students both seem to be equally adept at using their mobile phones, but the Romanian students seem to use the green ones, social media and some of the online chatting tools much more. And the Romanian students seem to use video a bit more than the American students did, according to our survey.
And it's quite obvious that also they needed a lot of tools to be able to collaborate, tools to communication. And we were quite sure that, for example, they will use messenger tools to be able to communication, emails. We were surprised to realize that they used other tools than those which were figured out or we were thinking they are going to use, so to ask them in the questionnaire. And during the interviews that became very, very, how to say, it informed us that the tools were Discord and Instagram messaging, which students use quite a lot. So they completely choose different tools outside of the normal tools which we're thinking.
And that made us feel really old.
And also we've been looking at how these different tools, and because they usually used about 16 to 20 different technologies and tools, either online or mobile based, improve their digital literacy skills. And we asked them at the end, do they really think that these tools improve their own digital literacy skills? As you see, they pointed, they were somewhere in the middle. The majority of them said that they consider yes, but very surprisingly, my students, the Polytechnic University of Timișoara students, consider that quite a lot of them that they strongly agree with this. And it might be possible because my students are mature students, they are in their final year just before the graduation, while my students are seniors in their first year in the university. So probably my students were more aware of the improvements and the benefits of an international virtual projects for their development.
Our students got together through the magic of Zoom and presented their projects to each other online, either on Skype or on Zoom, depending on when our classes were able to meet. And here we are doing that in my class and in Diana's class on the right. That created a community that allowed them to interact with their fellows.
And we had obviously several codes during the interviews and during the open questions in the questionnaire. And here, for example, we try to figure out how they think about how they experience culture. And it's quite clear that this project improved their communication. They learned how to communicate via VR, and if VR experiences improve their communication, and they could be able to see that the virtual reality show the similarities and the differences between the cultures and their countries. And in the same time, it's quite interesting that they consider that VR increased their positive experience because it made more whole scene and their entire experience more immersive, which is quite obvious. But in the same time, they've been able to see the differences between the two cultures.
And they learned how to work together as members of an international team and deal with all the challenges that come up in that kind of a working environment. They also saw, in many cases, they surprised themselves as to what they were able to accomplish during this short amount of time.
And they've been able also to see that extending their learnings through virtual mobility was their benefit. Students were able to make decisions, which is a clear connectivist feature. They were able to improve their planning, their organizational skills, and they were able to use different tools to tell a story, either via communication or virtual reality, and they clearly improved their digital competencies. Mark?
They also learned that they can creating a shared virtual experience allows them to generate interest in similar topics and interact both in real time as well as asynchronously as they work through their projects, and created deliverables that showcase their similarities and differences in this project. So in the past 10 years or so, we've created an environment where we can run an international project with students working as members of global teams, and the project adapts based on what's current in technology or current in the situation. This past year, because of the pandemic, we've sent students out to explore topics related to virtual reality in business, as opposed to going to specific places because of the pandemic. And they still have the one common theme each year is that students still need to pick the tools they want to use, and the ways they want to interact with each other most effectively in order to get the thing done.
In the last 12 years, we were able to prove and to validate that using digital tools, online and virtual tools, through in an international project, as we call it, in a virtual mobility project, really improves our students' global awareness, their cultural awareness, their connectivism. They learn how to communicate better and they become more digital competent. And in 2020, they've been more aware or more ready either to study or to work online or remotely. And this is us, a picture which is mixing Romania and Timișoara in virtual reality in a common project, TalkTech project. And please find some examples on our website. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.